Have you ever watched a truly good woman transform in silence after being hurt, becoming stronger, clearer, and impossible to take for granted again? Welcome to time-tested advice, where ancient philosophy meets the modern world. I'm your host, Alfred. Let's get started. When a man hurts a truly good woman, it's almost never really about her. It's more about his own inability to understand what he was blessed with. But in doing so, he sparks something inside her that even she might not have been aware of. A good woman, when she's wounded, doesn't fall apart. She doesn't disappear into sadness. What she does instead is far more powerful. She changes. And change for her doesn't look like screaming or revenge or loud reactions. It begins quietly. It starts with long nights where she lies awake, thinking, wondering about everything, her value, her choices, and her love. But the important difference with a good woman is that those thoughts don't break her spirit. They refine it, because deep down, she wasn't built on shallow ground. She loved honestly. She gave her time, her heart, her energy without keeping count. She stood by him even in his worst moments, hoping her belief in him would be enough to help him believe in himself. That kind of love isn't soft or naive. It's a powerful kind of strength. And when that love is betrayed, what comes next isn't destruction, it's clarity. She begins to see what was hidden before she starts noticing the times she explained away red flags. The moment she kept quiet just to maintain peace that never truly existed. And all the time she gave parts of herself to someone who didn't even know what to do with them. And instead of becoming cold or cruel, she becomes wiser. She doesn't shut off her heart. She simply begins to protect it better. She doesn't build walls out of bitterness. She develops better judgment. She doesn't scream or fight back. She levels up. This is what so many men don't understand when they hurt a good woman. They think she'll stick around. They assume her kindness will cover up the pain. They count on her loyalty to ignore their inconsistency, but there's always a limit. And once she's reached it, she won't return. Not because she stopped carrying, but because she finally started understanding. And what she begins to understand shifts everything. Through that change, she begins to rebuild carefully, gently. She takes her energy and puts it into herself, this time into her growth, her passions, and her healing. And here's the truth. The very thing he thought would break her actually wakes her up. And there's nothing more uncomfortable for a man who took her for granted than watching her become the woman he couldn't appreciate when he had the chance. Not out of revenge, but out of strength and clarity. And here's what hurts him the most. He doesn't see it coming. He thought she'd wait. He believed she needed him. He assumed she'd be there while he sorted himself out. But she wasn't. She moved on. She let go of the version of herself that accepted being unseen, and she grew into someone who finally sees herself clearly. Not because she's cold, but because she's healed. That change, that powerful shift. It's not his to watch or interrupt. It belongs only to her. It's hers in every sense. And even if he wakes up one day wanting the version of her who loved him without limits, she won't be there. Because now she gives that love to herself with the same intensity she once gave to someone who couldn't handle it. That's the real result of hurting a good woman. She doesn't just leave, she rises above. And that's something men often realize too late. Good women don't beg. They don't run after those who broke them. They step back, they think, and then they rise. Not because they didn't care, not because the love wasn't deep, but because when you give someone the truest part of your heart, the most honest version of yourself, and they still hurt you. Something inside you cracks, yes, but something even stronger wakes up. You start to see your value not from his view, but through your own healing process. And once that shift happens, it can't be undone. When a man causes pain to a good woman, he expects her to fall apart. He thinks she'll lose herself in sadness, that she'll come back needing closure, wanting one last conversation, hoping for any small piece of attention. But good women aren't like that forever. They might cry, they might stumble, they may feel lost in the beginning, but they don't stay broken, because good women are deep. They are strong, and that strength is shaped by every time they loved and got hurt. And when they finally walk away, it's not loud, it's calm, it's graceful, and most of all, it's final. The mistake men make is thinking that her silence means she's weak. But that's silence. It's a decision, a choice to guard her peace, a choice to stop, begging to be seen, a decision to stop shrinking just to be accepted in a space where she was always undervalued. Nav was never supposed to feel like a battle, and when a good woman finally understands that truth, she doesn't seek revenge. She lets go, and that act, letting go, is what they don't expect. They believe they'll always have time, that one day they'll come back when they've matured, when they've learned their lessons, when they finally see her worth. But by then, she's already blooming in places far more nourishing than what he ever offered. Hey, she's not angry, she's just moved beyond him. And that's a kind of pain very few men are ready to face. The pain of knowing they lost something rare, something real, and it was entirely their own doing. Because there's something truly sacred about a woman who loves honestly, who gives without playing games, who shows up with loyalty, grace, and a heart wide open. And when that kind of woman stops showing up, it's not drama, it's transformation, and the silence she leaves behind, it echoes louder than anything else. They'll try to find her in other women. They'll chase attention, empty compliments, temporary affection. But they won't find her again because she was one of a kind. And once you've known that kind of love, the kind that held you when you couldn't even hold yourself, you don't just lose it. You destroy it by not recognizing it when it was right in front of you, when you're the one who's difficult, but she still stays. When things get hard and she still believes, even when you don't believe in yourself. That kind of love is rare. And that's the real cost of hurting a good woman. It's not just about her being gone. It's about the years you'll spend searching for bits and pieces of her and people who can't even come close to who she was. She didn't lose him. He lost her, and that loss will echo throughout the rest of his life. If this resonates so far, like this video, share it with someone who needs it, and tell me in one word what rise means to you. Now, back in. A man who hurts a good woman usually thinks there won't be any real consequences. He tells himself she'll stay, that she'll keep putting up with just a little more. He believes her love will keep softening the impact. But what he doesn't understand is that her loyalty, while strong, isn't endless. It has a point where it breaks. And once a good woman reaches that point, everything begins to shift, not only in how she sees him, but in how she views herself. She begins to realize that love isn't the problem. It's not even that she loved too much. The real issue was that she gave the right kind of love to the wrong kind of man. A man who didn't know how to handle it. A man who deep down maybe never believed he was worthy of it. And when a man feels undeserving of genuine love, he often tears it apart before it has a chance to truly reveal him, because standing in front of a woman who really sees you, your flaws, your pain, your dark parts, and still chooses to love you. That's scary when you haven't dealt with those parts of yourself. So instead of meeting her love with courage, he runs from it. He pushes it away. He ignores it, not because it's false, but because it's too honest, too raw. And when that woman finally leaves, something sad happens, not to her, but to him. Because while she might cry, she also evolves, she grows, she finds herself again. But he begins to fall apart slowly, quietly, until one day he's surrounded by emptiness and doesn't even know how it all slipped away. That's the truth about breaking someone who only wanted to love you. You don't just lose them in the moment. You lose everything that could have grown between you. You lose all the parts of yourself that only came alive when they were around. You lose the peace they brought to your chaos. The belief they had in you when you couldn't find it in yourself. The softness they gave you in a world that kept telling you to stay hard. That's the price. It's not just about them leaving. It's also about the loss of the person you were when they loved you. A good woman never wants perfection. She just wants honesty. She wants effort. She wants you to try. She wants to see growth, humility, and a real heart. When you choose pride over change, ego over openness, you're not just turning your back on her love, you're also walking away from the man you could have become with her. And the saddest part. Most men only realize this once it's too late, when she's already moved on, when she's already found peace on her own, and they're left behind thinking about what was and what could have been haunted by one quiet, unanswered question. Why did I push her away? And the truth always circles back to this. You weren't ready for that kind of deep love. You hadn't done the inner work. You assumed she'd always be there no matter what, but real love doesn't beg. It doesn't stay where it's not respected, and when that truth hits you, it doesn't just hurt, it shifts your world. And often, by the time you're finally ready, she's already long gone. What many men don't understand is that the damage done by hurting a good woman doesn't stop when she walks away. The ending isn't neat. The pain doesn't just disappear with time. The consequences reach farther than you think. They come back in unexpected ways. When you break the heart of someone who gave you their love without holding back, you're not only breaking their trust, you're tearing at something sacred inside yourself too. So whether you noticed her value or not, a good woman leaves a mark. Her presence doesn't fade away. Her words, her support, her care, they stay in your memory. They come back to you in quiet moments, in times of doubt, in nights when you can't sleep and the distractions run out. Her love becomes a voice in your head, a feeling in your chest. And when she's gone, the silence she leaves behind doesn't fade. It gets louder. The silence follows you. It shows up when you least expect it, in the stillness, in the loneliness, and you start to really feel what you let go, not just the woman, but the experience of being seen and loved fully. She was the one who stayed when others left, who forgave you too many times, who believed in you more than you did, and you let that go. That's when regret walks in. Not just for what happened, but for everything that never got the chance to, for the better version of yourself that only existed when she was by your side, for the life that could have been created, for the future that now only lives in your memory. And maybe you try to find something new, someone new, but it doesn't work, because what you had wasn't just about being together, it was about being known, being accepted, being truly loved. And when you've experienced that kind of depth, everything else feels lighter, thinner, less real. You find yourself comparing not because you want to, but because your soul still remembers what it felt like to be loved that deeply. You realize the real cost of hurting a good woman isn't just that she left. It's that you lost a part of yourself with her, a part that only she brought out. That's the quiet punishment. You don't always notice it at first, but it shows up in your life, slowly, in every new relationship that doesn't quite feel the same, in your growing sense that something important slipped through your fingers, that she wasn't just a chapter, she was the turning point. And you missed it, because when a man wounds a woman who only ever wanted to love him, the pain doesn't just live in her. It turns around and finds its way back to him, maybe not right away, but eventually, and by then, what's lost can't be recovered, because a good woman isn't easily replaced. She's not easily forgotten, and once she's gone, so is the opportunity to be the kind of man you were slowly becoming around her. And the painful truth is that by the time you come to understand that it's already too late when a man hurts a good woman, what he usually doesn't realize is that he's not only causing pain right now, he's also affecting how she sees herself, love, and the world. A woman who once loved freely, trusted easily, and opened her heart, without fear, doesn't just bounce back after being hurt or ignored. She adapts to changes. And sadly, what she learns often makes her colder. She starts doubting what she once felt so sure about. She wonders if the love she gave so generously was a mistake, if her faithfulness was blind, if believing in him so strongly and for so long was just her being foolish. This shift doesn't come with loud arguments or emotional outbursts. It happens slowly inside her as a form of self-protection to keep her from feeling that kind of heartbreak again. And what's left is a woman who's more guarded, more cautious, someone who builds walls where she used to open doors. When you cause pain to a good woman, you push her to transform, and she does. She becomes tougher, yes, but that toughness is built on pain she never deserved. She becomes more aware, more careful, but it costs her the softness she once wore with pride. And here's what should keep any man awake at night if he truly thinks about what he did. You were the cause of that. You were the one who made her change. You turned her affection into silence, her care into space, her faithfulness into doubt. And the sad part is, she never wanted to become that person. She wanted to stay open. She wanted to keep her faith in love and people. And I believe that giving her heart fully would be met with the same. But the scar you left behind told her otherwise. It whispered that giving too much is dangerous, that caring deeply leads to pain, that loving with everything you have is a risk not worth taking. So now she moves through life differently, not necessarily angry, but changed. She trusts less. She's more careful. She listens more than she speaks. She watches rather than gives. She's learned how to keep pieces of herself hidden, not because she wants to play games, but because she refuses to bleed for someone who hasn't proven they deserve to see that side of her. And while this change may help her heal, it should be a painful truth for the man who made it happen, because what's been lost was something innocent. And when innocence gets replaced by self-protection, it rarely ever comes back the same. You didn't just lose her, you helped create a version of her the world will never fully know. Again, not because she's broken, but because she's more careful now. She understands that love isn't always safe. And once someone learns that lesson, it's hard to forget. The saddest part is she may become everything you never appreciated for someone else. But that person will have to earn her trust, slowly prove themselves daily, and be more consistent to access the parts of her that once came easily. You locked the door, and now someone else will have to spend time unlocking it, and you did it not because she failed, but because you weren't ready for what she offered. You couldn't handle the depth, the love, the loyalty, and now you must carry the truth that she became wiser, tougher, and colder because of you. That is the cost of hurting a woman who only ever wanted to love you fully. When a man damages the heart of a woman who gave her all, it's easy to think she'll just walk away, and it ends there. But that's not the full truth. When she pulls away, when she finally steps out of your life, it's not only about the hurt in that moment, it's about the weight of every small disappointment, every betrayal, every moment you didn't value her. She's been trying to stay, trying to hold on, trying to make it work because that's what loyalty does. But even the strongest hearts have limits. What's often missed is that when she walks away, she's not only walking away from you, she's also leaving behind a version of herself that believed in unconditional love, that hoped you'd return her efforts, that trusted you with her heart. That part of her, the part that gave without keeping score, is gone, and it doesn't come back easily unless you've lived through it. You won't really understand just how big that change is. When she leaves, it's not about revenge or trying to make you feel bad. It's about survival. It's the moment she realizes staying would only bring more hurt. It's the moment she sees that her worth isn't tied to how much she can give to someone who doesn't see her value. And when she goes, it's not because she gave up, it's because she finally saw she deserves better for any man who's hurt her the hardest. Truth is that she no longer needs him the way she used to. You were once her safe place, her best friend, her love. But now in choosing herself, she's found something even deeper, her strength. She's found the courage to walk away from something that was never fully right, and contribution in that decision. She understands that her value was never about being enough for someone else. But here's what many don't see. This change doesn't happen in a single day. She might walk out of your life, but the emotional wounds, the doubts, the what if, they stick around long after it's over. It's not just about recovering from your mistakes. It's about unlearning the harmful thoughts she carried while being with you, thoughts about love, about trust, about her own happiness. And that kind of healing takes time when she finally gathers the strength to go. It's not just for her. It's also a message to you. A message that love should never be taken lightly, that hurting someone who's loyal comes with consequences. She might never spell it out, but her silence will say it clearly. Love isn't something to toy with. It's not something to throw away when it's inconvenient. And it's definitely not something to take for granted. In time, the man who caused the pain might realize what he's lost. He might look back and remember the days she gave him her best, and he might wish he had treated her better. But by then, she might be too far gone. She might have already rebuilt her world, one that doesn't need his approval or his presence. And while that realization may sting, it's something he needs to face when a man breaks the heart of a good woman. He doesn't just lose her in that moment. He loses the chance to ever feel that kind of love again. And very few men are ever truly ready to face that kind of loss. Bonus. Truth. A good woman's forgiveness is a bridge, not a leash. When she forgives, it's to free herself, not to reset the same cycle. If the pattern returns, her forgiveness becomes farewell. Final reminder. Growth after grief makes her rare, but accountability after regret makes a man worthy. Without it, the lesson repeats with a different face. In summary, if you recognized yourself or someone you love in these words, honor the lesson, protect your peace, choose your growth, and never apologize for healing loudly by living softly. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. I'm your host, Alfred, and I read every comment.